Willa Amai. Hello, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So you are only 16, and right before you jumped on here, you let me know that you just got off school. So are you still in high school?
Yes, I am a sophomore, and yeah, I mean, I've been doing school this whole music journey, and school is really important to me, and I think that's sort of what's helped me balance that in music is that I'm genuinely passionate about both. Um, and I go to a hard school, but I like it a lot, and I like to be busy, and so yeah, I finished school today, and then now I'm here.
Nice. So were you already doing the online school situation even before 2020 since you're a musician, or is that also a new thing for you? Or are you doing that?
No, I mean, online school is definitely new for me. I really wasn't anticipating liking it as much as I do. Obviously, under the circumstances, it makes it hard to be excited about online school. But I think that I definitely it gives me anxiety to procrastinate, and so I think I'm lucky in that my anxiety has allowed me to succeed thus far in online school. But it is new, and I'm still learning. But yeah, I mean, I was before 2020. I would go to school, and then the studio that I record at, Linda's studio, is actually not far from. It wasn't very far from my school, so I would just drive from there to the studio, and that's what I did.
Nice. Yeah, you really do got to be a self-starter, I think, for a lot of
Yeah,
online situations. But
yeah.
that's good. You already got that in you. So, but even before that, you seem quite self-motivated because you are going to school and then you're jumping in your car and driving to the studio, which is conveniently nearby. So why don't you take us back to when you really got into music? Do you remember some? I mean, you're so young still, but do you remember some moments in your childhood where you kind of felt like music was your thing, or any kind of key moments that you feel like were inspirations for the direction that you took?
Yeah, I mean, music has always been a really big part of my life. Growing up, neither of my parents could really stand like the kid music, and so in the bath, as a really, really as an infant, basically in the bath, I would listen to Queen, Regina Spektor, Fleetwood Mac, Stevie Nicks on her own, Fiona Apple, truly incredible artists. Because my parents were bathing me as a little baby and they wanted something to listen to that they enjoyed, and so their music became my music. And so I think having such incredible songwriters at such a formative time in my life really shaped, one, my love for music, and two, my songwriting style. And so at a really young age, at 4, I started playing piano. But my teacher, she was incredible. Her name was Lauren Chipman. Shout out to you. I love you. She obviously taught me in a classical way, like I read sheet music, but she was very encouraging of creativity and improvisation and writing my own music. And so she was encouraging me from a very young age. And then it all kind of came to a head in 3rd grade. I had a poetry unit at school and I just fell in love with it. And so I thought I would combine, all my favorite things at the time, which was, lyrical word and music and singing and all of it. And so I've been, writing songs ever since. Um, and, I started the career part of this when I was 12 and a half, and I met Linda Perry. And she's been mentoring me ever since.
So on that first poetry project, you said you wanted to combine music. Did you have someone accompanying you doing the music, or did you do the music, or how did that work?
In the beginning, when I first started writing songs, what I would do is just write down the lyrics in like this little striped notebook that I had, and I would just remember the melody. Like I would come up with the melody as I went and would just remember it. And then once a week I had meetings with my piano teacher, and so what we would do is I would sing her the song line by line, and she would show me how to play the chords. And then eventually within a year I was just doing it myself and writing it all at once. um, so that was another thing that that piano teacher really gave to me was being self-sufficient really young, so I could just write all the time. And I think that's part of why I'm prolific now, is that I could be prolific then.
Wow, that's so awesome. I love that your teacher taught you that.
Yeah.
As someone who had kind of the more typical, for lack of a better word, boring
Yeah.
piano lessons as a kid, I would have loved if I had been encouraged to, hey, try to write a song, write some lyrics down, and then we can figure out, a melody to go with it. And I can maybe just teach you some chords to go with that melody. And to actually just be taught, I guess it sounds like your teacher was more of a songwriting teacher than a piano teacher. I mean, a little bit of both, but big picture wise, really a part of, teaching you songwriting a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, she was just an amazing woman, and she was technically not a pianist at all. She was a professional violist, but she taught kids cello, viola, violin, and piano. I mean, she was a musical prodigy for sure, and she had this like wonderful group of kids, me included. And every year we would go to like a Steinway store and would have a little show. And so every year I got to, it was a small audience for sure, but in front of those parents, I got to play the songs that I had written. And she just fostered this environment of creativity when, sometimes that's rare among classical piano, viola, violin teachers. So she really, I think all of the students that came out of her teachings ended up being very creative.
Do you still, because like I said, you're only 16, are you still being taught formally, or are you now more on the self-taught, self-study path?
Yeah, so I don't even remember how many years ago it was. It must have been 3. I stopped taking lessons. Um, Linda Perry, my mentor, sort of advised me to, because at that point I had been playing for 10 years or so. And when you kind of get to a point where you've learned all that you can learn. And I think Linda kind of thought that, and I agree now that I've stopped, that to let go of those lessons now that I have all of the knowledge that I have, kind of let me experiment with myself, not having a middleman between me and the piano. And I think that my songs, the piano parts to them, have become more interesting since then, because there's absolutely no boundary on what I think is possible or normal in, the piano structure of a song. So yeah, I've been stopped, and it definitely was a good thing for me, but I don't regret a single moment of any of the lessons that I had.
What are some of your what were some of your early inspirations for what you were writing about when you were 12, or even younger?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think there's a really common misconception that I was confronted with when I first started performing, that when you're young, you don't feel as deeply, or you don't feel as complex of emotions that adults do. Because I got the question constantly of, you know, how do you get inspiration? How do is it other people? Do you watch movies? Is it reading? And yes, I've found inspiration in other types of media, but um, nobody has a monopoly on pain. Like when it
Sure.
comes down to it, we feel all the same things. And so as a third grader, I was writing about love and heartbreak because I felt those things. And yes, it was just a boy in my class that, didn't like me, but it's all the same. You feel what you feel. And so the concept of my songs have ultimately been the same since I started writing. And I think that does surprise a lot of people. And I understand, but I think as a young songwriter, I feel like it's almost my duty a little bit to kind of spread the word. It's like, as a young person, the feelings are the same. It's not caused by the same stuff often. I haven't been divorced, but divorced women are very drawn to my songs. I think, we all just kind of feel the same stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I think anyone who can think back to when they were, in grade school, I think emotions are even more raw back then. I think as you get older, even you probably are noticing this, from your third grade to your sophomore year, is you learn how to manage your emotions more as you get older. So in some cases they become more muted. So younger, it may be more organic or more real, that way. And I think that's why a lot of people, I think that's there is a value in youth, in some of the entertainment industry endeavors, because it's seen as more real. It's not as
Yeah.
managed. So yeah, I totally hear you on that. You brought up older women being a fan of your music, and I listening to your music, you do have a mature voice. Are you getting that from some of your inspirations? Tell us a little bit about where you got your sound and your inspiration for your voice.
Um, I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I think, like I said, those people that I was listening to when I was young, I think especially um, Fiona Apple, my mom listened to a lot when she was pregnant with me. And then also I listened to her a lot, like I said, in the bath, in the car, when I was really young. And then, funnily enough, when I started doing music, Fiona Apple was consistently the person I was compared to. And I think unintentionally, those incredible musicians who I listened to very young really shaped my sound. And I think even when I didn't understand what was so alluring about music, the emotion in their songs drew me in. And I think my mind connected the richness in the voices of all of those artists to the emotion that I thought was so appealing. And so I think when I started singing, I really wanted to convey that same deep level of emotion. And so I don't know. At this point, I can't do it any differently. But in all honesty, I wouldn't be surprised if, as a third grader, I was like, I'm gonna have a low voice, and just kind of decided, and then and then now I have a low voice.
So you've been releasing music now for a couple years. One of your first singles was a cover of "Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger," which is a Daft Punk song. What drew you to that song, and how'd you come to the decision to cover that song?
Well, funnily enough, it actually wasn't my decision, and I had a ton of fun doing it. But I actually, when I was 13 or something, I Linda took me to Shy at Day for a performance. She was bringing some of her other artists there, and she was performing as well for Shy at Day. And so she just brought me along because I'd only performed once really in a professional setting. And so I wanted more experience. She wanted me to have more experience, and that's all it was supposed to be. But I played some of my songs there, and then someone came up to Linda and was like, she's the voice we've been looking for. We can't tell you who the company is, but we need a cover of Daft Punk's Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. And they said they wanted it to be emotional. And, Linda texted me that night, and I was like, are you sure that's the right song? Like an emotional cover of such a robotic. And so, but anyway, I mean, it was a good challenge for me. And so I did it, and they put it in the commercial, and it ended up being it was for QuickBooks. It ended up being a global campaign, and then we kind of did like a second round of it, because the whole campaign was their Backing You campaign, and it was all about supporting small businesses.
Mhm.
And so then we did like a second round of it, a second commercial, and I was in it, and Linda was in it, and everyone who sort of creates an artist was in it. And so that's why I did it. And I mean, like I said, it was definitely a challenge. But then, that's how I was sort of introduced to syncs, and I've really been interested in them since then. So I'm really glad that happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's got over 6 million views on YouTube, so apparently, people are loving it. And you also did a rendition of Dolly Parton's "Here You Come Again," recorded with Dolly herself. How was that?
I mean, that was amazing. Um, the way that happened was Linda sent me a list of Dolly songs and was just like, pick one and cover it. And my mom was like, oh my God, what if you're going to do a duet with Dolly? And I'm like, Mom, it's not going to happen. Like, you're getting your hopes up. No
Uh-huh.
chance.
Uh-huh.
So Linda was working with Dolly at the time on the soundtrack for Dumplin', that Netflix movie, and then her new album as well. And I didn't know this. And so I picked Here You Come Again, and I, made my own arrangement of it and sent it to her. And she's like, great, let's record it. And I'm like, cool. So I go in and I'm recording it. And so I record it. And if you listen very closely, you can hear I had the flu at the time when I recorded that. And then I know she's going to Tennessee, but again, I don't know why. And then she sends a video to this group chat that she has with me, my mom, my little sister, and my dad, of her feet, like her big boots up on a soundboard. And I hear You Come Again playing, like my version of it. And she pans the camera, and there's Dolly and like a rhinestoned jumpsuit and her huge heels, and she starts singing the harmony, and like that's how she told me.
Wow.
And I mean, Dolly herself was just amazing, like everything you would ever hope she would be. Like I remember at the Dumplin premiere, which I went to because the song was in the movie, and so there's like a red carpet, and I was excited. And so I get there and I walk down and I get to the end, and Dolly comes on, and I knew the moment it happened because everyone started screaming. And so she sees me at the end of the carpet and like waves me over to her. And so I come up to her, and she said hi, and like we hugged, and she starts posing with me to take pictures. And like all the press and the paparazzi, they were like screaming at her, get the girl out of the photo. But Dolly just takes my hand and like walks off with me. And I mean, she was just so nurturing and just incredible.
Wow, what an epic story for the ages. You'll be able to tell that story
Yeah.
until you're 80 or whatever. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Interesting thing I heard about Dolly recently was she made a significant contribution to coronavirus vaccine research, and apparently it was to, if I'm remembering it correctly, the company that has developed a pretty promising vaccine. So props to Dolly for helping to fight coronavirus as well.
No surprise at all to me.
Well, that is an amazing story. So it's good luck topping that one in the next couple of years. But it looks like you're on your way. I mean,
like, where am I supposed to go from there?
Well, you're getting a lot of attention from Esquire and Refinery 29. You're getting a lot of people's attention, and like I said, you've got a beautiful voice, and you've just released a couple new singles, Unorganized Crime, and you just released what was it, today? Yeah, today.
Today.
You released a I guess you could call it a holiday-ish song called December, or at least of the season. Tell us a little bit about Organized Crime first.
Yeah, Unorganized Crime it's a little different from all my other songs. Well, all my other songs I've ever written, because it's not me specifically that I'm sort of pretending to be. What the song really is, it's sort of in memoriam of what I thought I would turn out to be when I was younger. When I was little, I thought that I was this rebellious soul, and that, one day I would break free of societal norms, and that whatever I thought, and that's not true. I'm square, and I like to learn and read, and I like genetics, like it's that I'm never going to be that way. I feel comfortable in the confines of rules and societal norms and whatever. And so when I came to accept that I was never going to be that idea of myself, I decided to sort of write a song pretending like I had, what would it feel like? And the way I did it was I just kind of imagined if all the things that scared me excited me, literal things like drugs and alcohol, but also just, the idea of running away, of being free, of not looking back, all those things scare me in reality, but pretending like they were exciting was how the song sort of came to be.
That's cool. And that's cool that you recognize that, but you're doing something that not a lot of people your age do, or even people older than you do. So maybe you're scratching that itch in a different way.
Yeah.
And then December, perfect time. First of the month tomorrow, I think. What's December about?
December is about, and I think it's definitely, I didn't write it during COVID, but I think it's definitely poignant right now. It's about ultimately being alone in a time when togetherness is so important and valued and accentuated. And, it kind of takes to the end of the song because it's sad until the end. But, it's about learning that acceptance of being okay with yourself and doing things with yourself, and not needing or being reliant on the assurance of someone else to feel okay and be excited about life. And so I, you know, I wanted to release it because I think that hits home a little bit harder now. Because a lot of people, I'm really lucky. I have my family with me and we're all very close, but there are a ton of people who are just completely alone on the holiday. And even if you don't celebrate those holidays, I think it's just a time of family that is kind of being disrupted. And so I'm really excited that it's out. And yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song. Tell us a little bit about, because I know you're releasing a couple singles, but you're also working on a full-length LP.
Yeah, I have a full album that's ready. And they are my children, these songs. I mean, I'm so proud of it. And I'm hoping that, and the plan is right now that it'll be released in Q1 of 2020. 2021. Very excited. And yeah, I mean, I got really lucky. It was recorded before COVID, and so all of the things that you have to do after that, I didn't have to worry about my safety to get the rest of it done, the mixing, the marketing, none of that. So it, it's really exciting for me because I think I've had a really eclectic kind of collection of things that I've done so far. Daft Punk, and then the song with Dolly. And I mean, those things were incredible, like once in a lifetime, once in a million experiences. But it also means that I never really put out a song that really truly identified my songwriting style. And so Unorganized Crime is sort of the first song to do that. And then with the album, I'm finally going to be able to have a full body of work that perfectly demonstrates, who I am as a songwriter. And I think this is kind of my chance to identify myself in the industry. And I really couldn't be more excited.
Awesome. So are there plans to, if things get safe enough, to be performing these anywhere in particular, or how are plans going with that?
I mean, it's definitely a difficult thing, because I am in school and because school's important to me. Like I'm going to college, and that's a deal breaker. Like it's gonna happen, and I'm so excited. So it gets hard. Like summer is the only time that touring could even be there could even be a probability of it. And I never really did touring before COVID happened, just because of my age. It's hard. And also it's not like I'm going to go on my own tour, I'm piggybacking on someone else.
Sure.
So it's going to take someone to ask. But, I think if performing in person became safe again, I definitely would want to perform. Performing is it's like a drug. I mean, the adrenaline and pure elation you get from it is just so addictive, and it's the best feeling. And, being able to connect with people in person is amazing. But I don't know if I would be able to tour. I don't know if I'd be able to leave school to tour. I don't know. So I guess I'll cross that bridge when I get to it, but definitely performances. I mean, like, the Newport Folk Festival was canceled obviously this year, but I was going to play there, and I hope and pray that 2021 will come in a safe way and I will be able to perform there. So that festival is the dream festival at the moment. And so hopefully I'll be able to play there.
Yeah, that sounds great. And it sounds like, I mean, you sound so well adjusted, and like you have such a good head on your shoulders for
Thank you.
someone
Thank
who's
you so much.
experiencing some great success in the entertainment industry. So keep that up, and maybe you could give some advice to other aspiring artists. We like to end the interview by asking, if you had one piece of advice for aspiring artists, what would it be?
It would be to be honest. I think a lot of people say write what you know. I don't think that's necessarily my best piece of advice. It's just to be honest. It doesn't have to be your truth. It has to be a truth, and people will be drawn to it.